Want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. In today's episode, what we'll be discussing is the Detroit Pistons 2026 Las Vegas Summer League roster. We're going to be talking about each and every player on the roster, learning about them. Now, this podcast and video did take me a couple of days to complete, so I really hope you guys do enjoy today's episode and learning more about these young men that will be playing next week in the Summer League for the Detroit Pistons. One of the main attractions this Summer League is going to be Ebuka Okorie out of Stanford. He was the Detroit Pistons' first round selection a couple of weeks ago. And what you like about him is he's a great scorer. He can get to his spots very easily, averaged 23 points a game at Stanford this past season. He's already an elite ball handler. You guys will see just how he can get into his dribble packages. It is very fun to watch him just dribble the basketball. It kind of reminds you, if you've ever played basketball at the park, he's got like street ball type of handles. He's got the thing on a string, you guys. He can get his teammates involved too. Like, don't be deterred by the 3.6 assists that he had at Stanford. That said more about Stanford and the team around him than him only averaging 3.6 assists. He's a low turnover guard as well, which is something that I was really happy with the selection because we had such a problem with turnovers last year. Defensively, what you really like about him is he can rotate and play the passing lanes really well, get those deflections. So I think you're getting a really good point guard in Ebuka Okorie, and a lot of us are going to be really excited to see how he does against another top point guard in the first Summer League game against Phylon with the Philadelphia 76ers. But I'm really excited to watch Ebuka Okorie. I think those are the things to look out for is his scoring, his playmaking, and some of just the deflections that he will get playing the passing lanes. Outside of Ebuka Okorie, Ugonna Onyenso is probably one of the most hyped up second round picks I can remember in quite some time, and for good reason. Let's just kind of look at him. 7-foot elite shot blocker already, can catch dump off passes and finish around the rim, has shown the ability to stretch the floor and splash down some threes. As you guys can see, he started his college career at Kentucky, then went to Kansas State, and then finished it at Virginia. But I mean, you're just kind of talking about a guy that is 7 foot, one of the best shot blockers in college basketball. I wouldn't really focus too much on his rebounding because he didn't really get to play that many minutes per game, but he's definitely a attraction, I would say, for this summer league because I think a lot of people are going to be asking about Ebuka Okorie and Ugonna. Now, he did initially sign a two-way deal. If he goes out and just balls out, that two-way deal can get converted to a standard contract, but they would have to make a trade and make a move if that were the case. But crazier things have happened. I've seen two-way contracts get converted because they play so damn well. The team's just like, okay, he needs a standard contract. But for right now, he is on a two-way contract. Tim and Isaac Jones are the only two-way contract players that will be on this Las Vegas Summer League. Pistons still have one available two-way roster spot open, but you're just going to be looking for shot blocking, dump off passes, and maybe we will see him stretch the floor a little bit and splash down some threes in the Summer League. Chaz Lanier is a player that the Detroit Pistons selected last year in the second round in the NBA draft. And what you really like about Chaz Lanier is his catch and shoot ability of being a movement shooter. He's a very underrated passer, and he can be active with his hands in the passing lanes on the defensive end of the floor. I expect Chaz to be a leader for this Las Vegas Summer League team. He's going to be one of the older players out there. He's one of the very few active roster players on the Detroit Pistons that will be there as well. I'm expecting him to have a bigger offensive load, and this is a very good opportunity for him to get starting reps to develop his game. Again, I don't really know what his role in Detroit is going to be with the acquisitions of Isaiah Joe, keeping Duncan Robinson. I don't really know how much minutes Chaz is going to get this upcoming season, but it'll be interesting to see how much he has developed and how much he has progressed this summer and what he's worked on. But I expect him to be a leader on the court and shoot a hell of a lot of threes in the backcourt next to Ebuka Okorie. Corey Stevenson is the archetype of two guard that I think a lot of Pistons fans are going to enjoy to watch. He is one of three players that will be on an Exhibit 10-day deal at the Las Vegas Summer League. And what you really like about him is he's an athletic guard that loves to dunk, has developed into a really good three-point shooter in college the past 2 years, and likes to get into the mid-range. You guys can see he was a 23.8% three-point shooter. He jumped it up to 42% last season. And this year he was just shy of 40%, shooting 39.8% from three. But the more I watched his game, it's just so enjoyable. Like, he loves to get into the mid-range. He's very athletic. He can catch lobs. He loves to dunk. He can play the transition game. Defensively, he gives a lot of effort. He can rotate. He can switch. I think the more you watch tape on him, the more you kind of like just fall in love with him, because he's just got a game that it's just really enjoyable to watch. I can't really explain it. If you guys want to watch him, he just has a really solid jump shot. The way he can get into his spots, it's just so effortless. There's no wasted energy or motion whatsoever. He's easily going to be one of the players that I'm looking at to possibly get that final two-way contract spot. Is Drake Allen. He's a combo guard out of Utah State, 25 years old, 6'5". I think a lot of you guys are really going to like this kid, and I think the reason why you'll like him so much is just his explosiveness as an athlete. He can attack the rim with confidence, finish above the basket, very powerful leaper, capable of throwing down highlight reel dunks in traffic. It would not surprise me if we do get at least one or maybe more highlight level type of plays by this kid. He's really athletic at the guard position, comfortable pulling up from three too. He already has NBA range. I think a lot of you guys will probably look at his college stats saying, Anthony, he shot 30% from three. How good of a three-point shooter is he? How can he be confident only shooting sub-30s from three in college? There were games this year where, he made 5+ threes. He was getting to his spots, getting into his zone, and he just couldn't miss. I mean, you have games like that in college. He could probably have games like that at the NBA level as well. He can finish with either hand around the rim too, which I think what makes him very intriguing at 25 years old as an Exhibit 10 contract from the Detroit Pistons. So he's very difficult to defend in transition and half-court sets. So that's something that I really like about his game as well. He's an active defender with good instincts as a help side and a weak side defender. He's shown the ability to rotate and disrupt passing lanes and create steals and blocks. Me personally, when I kind of look at him, his ceiling, I think right now he would be an energy NBA bench player. I could see him on the Motor City Cruise. Now, the reason why I could see him on the Motor City Cruise personally is you're able to give out 3 Exhibit 10-day contracts, and he's one of the 3. So this could be a guy that you could see this summer at Summer League. You could also see him as we get closer to the NBA season in preseason on the training camp roster, possibly competing for a 2-way contract or playing in the Motor City Cruise. So Drake Allen is one of the players that I will be keeping an eye on for highlight level type of dunks, 3-point shot making ability, can distribute the basketball, and could be a pest defensively in the passing lanes and on the help side defensively. So the next player that we're going to be talking about is Dawson Garcia. Now, that name probably sounds familiar. It should. He was on the Detroit Pistons Summer League roster last year. Didn't really get to play as much as I think some fans anticipated after they watched his tape at Minnesota or even watched his tape at North Carolina, being a stretch four, being able to play out of the post, pass out of the post, getting to the free throw line. Kind of your typical stretch four that a lot of Pistons fans want to see on this roster. He was able to play a couple of games with the Motor City Cruise, the Pistons G League affiliate, this past season. And you look at his numbers, they're actually pretty damn good. In 7 games played this past season with the Motor City Cruise, he was able to start 1, put up 13 points a game, shot 70% from the field, 66.7 from 3, grabbed a couple of rebounds, 2.1 to be exact, 0.6 assist. Did foul a little bit, 2.6 fouls per game in the G League, but everyone fouls in the G League. No one actually plays defense down there whatsoever. If you guys have ever been to a game or watched a game, but as it kind of relates to Dawson Garcia, I'm not really entirely sure what his role is going to be this upcoming summer league. Is it going to be more of a reserve role? Is it going to be a starting role? I think he's more than capable of being a starting power forward in this upcoming summer league because he's able to stretch the floor and play out of the post. I think the one nitpicky thing that I've noticed watching some of his G League games and even like going back and watching some of his games at the University of Minnesota is defensively, oftentimes he's just kind of standing around. I think the coaching staff with the Detroit Pistons and the Motor City Cruise are working with him on that area because I think that is a weakness of his game. But overall, I don't really know what to expect out of Dawson Garcia. I think the floor for him is probably, more playing time, more development with the Motor City Cruise. I'd be very shocked if he was on the Detroit Pistons roster. But hey, I'll admit when I was wrong. But Dawson Garcia, just know, stretch four, can play to the post, and get to the free throw line. The next player that we're going to be talking about is Michigan guard Roddy Gale Jr. Now, I know a lot of Michigan fans know who this is. 6'5", 22-year-old guard, won a national championship with the Wolverines this past season. And, man, there is so much to like about this kid. Some of just his strengths that really pop off the screen is him being such a relentless driver to the basket, can finish with either hand, really bouncy, can't throw it down on you if you're not paying attention. I know he did that during the college basketball playoffs. And that's something that I noticed about him when I was watching games this past season and just watching highlights on the kid as well. He has shown the ability to throw it down, and he's a really good cutter too. Like he's not one of those guys that just kind of stands in the corner. Like if he sees opportunities to cut to the basket, get some easy points, he'll 100% do that. Again, I don't really know what his role is with the Detroit Pistons. Now, this wasn't a Exhibit 10 day by the Detroit Pistons. This was just kind of like an invite out to their Summer League roster. But I think a lot of Pistons fans already know who he is if they're Michigan fans. If you watch college basketball. If not, I think a lot of just casual Pistons fans will be like, who's this Roddy Gale guy? Like, I really like the way that he plays. Just a really high energy, high motor type of guard that I think we'll have a niche in the NBA. I could definitely see him, making a two-way contract, whether it's with the Pistons or another NBA team, because players like him make it out in the NBA. Like you think about a former Piston, and I'm not comparing the two, but I think they have some of that same dog mentality. It reminds me a lot of like a Bruce Brown, just the type of energy, the shit talking, crashing the glass, getting to the rim, the basket cuts. Like he does so many things so well that he's just a winner at the end of the day. And I think a lot of Pistons fans will enjoy watching him in the Summer League. Jaden Henley is another Exhibit 10-day contract from the Detroit Pistons that got invited out to their Summer League team. Now, I think the one thing about Henley that a lot of Pistons fans will like is he's a 6'5" combo guard, and he is so athletic. The one thing that I really like about him is just his finishing around the basket. It could be layups with either hand. It could be just crazy acrobatic dunks, like high-level dunks to the point where like it's probably going to end up on SportsCenter and every other House of Highlights social media platform you could think of if he was able to slam one down with the Summer League. Also really likes to get to the mid-range too, and you guys can kind of see at his career stats in college, he went up from a 12.5 point per game score when he was playing at UNLV to 17.7 at Grand Canyon University on a bigger role. And when you watch him play, he moves a lot, surprisingly, like Jaden Ivey. So I want you guys to go watch the tape, go watch some games of Jaden Henley. He moves a lot like Jaden Ivey. The one thing I will say is I think he's a little bit more athletic in terms of just like throwing it down for slam dunks. But he's a guy that I'll be keeping an eye on. Again, a lot of times with these Exhibit 10 days, you oftentimes see them at training camps after the Summer League is over, and you oftentimes see them competing for two-way contracts. As we know, we'll get to this guy in a little bit. Ugonna is actually one of the Detroit Pistons two-way contract players, but Jaden Henley could be one of those guys competing for a two-way deal. Let's talk about one of the Detroit Pistons two-way contract players, Isaac Jones. I'm sure that name does sound familiar to some Pistons fans. He was picked up off of waivers from the Sacramento Kings, and he's one of the best centers in the G League. Like back-to-back years, he's averaged 20 points, that 9 rebounds, just shy of 9 rebounds with the Crews this year, almost 2 blocks a game, where he actually really saw a tick in improvement there. But he's a strong rebounder for his size in the G League. Good rim protector, does have a floater game. In the G League, if you're around 6'7" or 6'8", like you can just dominate guys at the center position. There are not too many 7-footers, like true 7-footers in the G League. I think where Isaac does kind of struggle, though, in terms of the defensive end of the floor, like stretch fives, 100%. Like laterally, he's not always consistent the way he does rotate defensively. But I think you will see him either start or come off the bench for the Pistons in the Las Vegas Summer League. He can catch the occasional lob, but he mostly focuses on dribble drives, does a lot of DHO with the guards and the wings, and also has shown the ability to, post up from time to time. But this is a guy that will probably spend most of his time in the G League again this year. It's a very strong depth piece for the Detroit Pistons to have a guy like that who's just been dominating the G League for the past 2 seasons. I always say there are certain players in the NBA that are too good for the G League, but maybe can't crack an NBA rotation. I feel like Isaac Jones is on that same wavelength of he's a dominant G League center, but he just hasn't been able to crack an NBA rotation with the Detroit Pistons so far. But I think he will have a very good summer league. The next player that we're going to be talking about is Bashir Jihad. He's a 6'9", 22-year-old forward that played for the Atlanta Hawks G League affiliate, the College Park Skyhawks, last season. A little bit about Bashir is he's really good at taking it to the rack. Had a good shooting percentage from 3, where he made 36% of his threes on 1.9 attempts per game. And he had multiple 30-point outbreak games in the G League with the Skyhawks this past season. He's one of these players where I think it's more of just like a tryout for the Motor City Crews. I don't really know what his role is going to be with the Detroit Pistons Las Vegas Summer League roster. I could definitely see him off the bench as an intriguing, toolsy forward that's 6'9", that can move his feet, uses his length defensively. I wouldn't be too concerned that he likes to kind of just live in the paint and basket cuts. He's shown the ability to kind of hit those corner threes when the defense does collapse and you got to kick it out to him. He's also shown the ability to kind of get into the mid-range as well. So I think he's definitely a player that the Pistons front office looked at when they were filling out their summer league roster, where they want to kind of see a little bit more out of him, and maybe there is a two-way possibility conversation. Maybe he is here in Detroit with the Motor City Crew, so they can kind of develop him a little bit more. Very intriguing 6'9" forward player to keep an eye out this summer league. Another forward on this Las Vegas Summer League team for the Detroit Pistons is Latavius Mitchell. Now, he did play 4 years of college basketball, played a little bit overseas in the European League, where he looked like the best player on the court there. I don't know the level of competition in the European League. It was not in English, so I'm not really entirely sure where he did play. But the one thing that you guys will like about Latavius Mitchell is he's a lob threat forward, extremely bouncy and athletic, strong downhill driver, and can really play in the open court in and transition. He's not the best three-point or perimeter shooter. Most of his actions will be with motion, backdoor cuts, transition opportunities. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get for the Pistons in the Summer League. I could totally see him being a G League Crews guy. Maybe he does look to try out for the Motor City Crews. But just know with Latavius Mitchell, you're getting an athletic forward that can catch lobs, loves to run in transition, and can block some shots because he's just such an athletic freak. Orlando Thomas is a guard that really excels in three-point shooting. His strengths are he's a really strong driver, has a really quick first step, is not afraid of contact, will get to the free throw line, will kind of sacrifice his body getting into the painted area, but I really like his ability to shoot the three-point shot. As you guys can see, he shot over 43% at Langston. Now, again, I don't really know what his role is going to be with the Summer League. He could be a guy that does come off of the bench. He could be a contender for the Pistons' final two-way spot. But I see a lot of Pistons fans talk about him. I understand it. He has a very nice-looking shot. It's a lefty shot. It's a little similar to like a De'Aaron Fox type of motion, the way he shoots. But I think a lot of you guys will like Orlando Thomas. Last but not least, we got to talk about Bryce Williams. He was on the Detroit Pistons Las Vegas Summer League team last year, much like Dawson Garcia. Absolute bucket getter. Absolute bucket getter. You guys are really going to like him if he does get the opportunity to play. Played with the Crews this past season. Started to come off the bench and then eventually was inserted to be in the starting lineup, and for good reason. 13.7 points per game in the G League, 48.3% from the field, 46.3 from three on 5.5 attempts per game. This guy is just a very strong three-point shooter, bucket getter that you're kind of like seeking for maybe a possible two-way spot, honestly. Like, he is such a strong three-point shooter, and that was a thing with him when he came out of college at Nebraska. I remember a lot of Pistons fans were really hyped about the Bryce Williams pickup on the Summer League roster. I mean, he could be in contention for that final two-way spot. The G League organization is already very familiar with him. I know I went to a game, and I believe he had like 30-plus points and 7 threes. Like, once he gets into his zone, it's very hard to stop him from making shots and making baskets, but he's going to be on one of my lists for the final two-way spot. Like, I could see Jaden Henley, I could see Bryce Williams, I could see a lot of players really gearing up for that last two-way contract spot on the Detroit Pistons. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode, kind of breaking down the Summer League roster. Who are you looking forward to watching? Is it Ebuka Okorie? Is it Ugonna Onyenso? Maybe it's a Bryce Williams. I'll talk to you guys down below in the comment section. But before we do wrap up this podcast, you guys, we have to hear from our sponsors over at the FanDuel Sportsbook. So right now we have NBA futures out, and we have Central Division odds. The Detroit Pistons are the odds-on favorite to win the Central. That would be back-to-back years. Wouldn't that be cool? At a minus 175. Then you have the Cleveland Cavaliers at a plus 230. Indiana Pacers at a plus 480. Milwaukee Bucks. Sorry about that, you guys. Plus 20,000. Chicago Bulls plus 25,000. I have to slow down when I'm talking because I called the Chicago Bulls the Chicago Blows. I'm sure you guys remember that. Now the Milwaukee Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks. But seeing the Pistons as the odds-on favorite to win the Central, I'm not mad at it. I already know the East is going to be a bloodbath next year. There's so much change with Jaylen Brown going to the 76ers. You got Kawhi on the Raptors. Indiana's going to come back with a healthy Tyrese Halliburton. How does Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics look? Does Cleveland get LeBron? They still have roster spots. Miami's got Giannis. Like, the East is going to be just an absolute war next season. Hopefully the Detroit Pistons make maybe one more move so where we're not like completely nervous. But again, let me know what you guys thought of today's podcast episode, kind of breaking down the Las Vegas Summer League roster. First game will be on the 9th against the Philadelphia 76ers, and that game will be on Amazon Prime. 3 out of the 4 Summer League games will be on Amazon Prime, and I believe the final game, if we don't make the playoffs, will be on ESPNU, but we will be doing post-game podcast for the Las Vegas Summer League like we've done the past 3 summers. But really appreciate you guys just showing support, tapping in with these podcasts throughout the summer. And we will talk to you guys very soon and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend.